Welcome back to Hang and Vibe, episode 9. And this week is Metal Week. I'm going to share some of the metal artists that I listened to during the summer. But before I get to the music, I'll just talk a little bit about my week. On Sunday, our guest preacher was William Kessler, and he preached in the morning on Psalm 42, which is a psalm of lament, and it's one of my favorite psalms, actually. I particularly like the line, "Deep calls out to deep," and I just spotlight that particular line because this isn't a insight that I gleaned from this specific sermon, but I've heard other sermons on this passage, and one sermon that I heard on it talked about how this line is like, it's like saying that we were made for deep things. Like God created us to be in communion with Him, and so our hearts are like deep pits that can only be filled with Him. So when we go seeking to be fulfilled in like shallow things, those are not enough to fill up the depths inside of us. So yeah, it just reminds me, I think, that I shouldn't waste my time pursuing things that are shallow and not fulfilling. So I always like that line from that passage, and the sermon was pretty good too. I didn't take very good notes, so I just thought I'd share just what I gleaned from that passage. In the evening, we had the same preacher, and he preached on Matthew chapter 11, verses 1 through 6. This is where John the Baptist is in prison, and he sends his disciples to ask Jesus if he's really the Messiah, or if they should be looking for someone else. And the point of the sermon, I guess, is just that, sometimes we have expectations of God based on His Word, based on, our understanding and everything. And when God doesn't meet those expectations, it's kind of throws us out of whack, and we can question whether or not we have the right God or the right Jesus. And I guess this week we have the same preacher, and I think he's going to follow up that sermon with the rest of the passage and actually talk about Jesus's response to John's disciples. So he'll talk more about how Jesus responds to our questions and everything. But yeah, I think it was just a good introduction to that feeling that I think we can all have sometimes, like when we expect something and it doesn't go that way, and it can be kind of disorienting, I guess. So anyways, during the week, my sister and I watched some more movies. We watched a movie on Thursday. One of the scare zones for Halloween Horror Nights this year is called Torture Fair. It's based on like a Renaissance fair. So we watched a movie that was about LARPing, and has Peter Dinklage in it. It's actually a pretty good movie. I thought it was pretty funny. And it was actually pretty fitting for this week because the main character saves the day by singing doom metal at the monster. And it just fits for this week since it's Metal Week. On Saturday, I ran 7 miles with my dad, and afterwards we had a sort of like a movie marathon, because one of the houses at Halloween Horror Nights is called Slaughter Cinema 2, because it's actually a sequel, I guess, to a previous house that they had. And so our idea was to kind of just watch some, B horror movies. And one of the ones we watched was called Hell Baby, which was, it was a little bit like inappropriate at times and stuff, but the humor in it was pretty funny. Like I will say, it had what's his name, Keegan Michael Key or something, I don't know, the guy from Key and Peele, the one who's not Jordan Peele. So he was one of the characters in it, and it was pretty funny, and some of the humor in it reminded me a lot of like Monty Python, just because like some of the bits were like just really drawn out, and like, yeah, I don't know, just were funny because of how drawn out they were. But yeah, it was kind of good, but also there were some parts that weren't good. But then we because the house, the Halloween Horror Nights house, the theme is like a drive-in movie theater. We wanted to watch some movies outside. So my sister, who works at a library, the library has like stuff that you can check out, other than books and movies and stuff. So you can actually check out a blow-up movie screen and a projector that you can like set up outside. So she checked that out, and we set up the blow-up screen in our backyard, in my parents' backyard, and the projector that came with the set didn't really work, so my dad just happened to have another projector that worked really well, so we used his projector, and we watched Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which is my sister's all-time favorite movie, and it is actually pretty good. Like, it's silly and goofy and like, low budget, I guess, but also just really funny, and it's just a good B movie, a good B horror movie. So that's what we did last night, and now I'll share some music. First one is an artist called ERRA. They're from Alabama. They've gone through some member changes, but the first album that I heard was called Drift, was released in 2016. The members on that album were Jesse Cash, Alex Ballou, Sean Price, and JT Cavey. I want to spotlight the song Drift, the title track on the album. It's got this really beautiful melodic guitar that it starts with and that continues throughout. After the sort of melodic intro, this like heavy distorted guitar comes in, and there's some screaming vocals and stuff. And take a breath, enter the unknown. Watch your step. The vocals in the chorus are really fantastic too. The end is probably one of the best parts, because like it has this quiet guitar part. there's like this awesome guitar solo. That I wish was longer. It kind of fades out, but yeah, just the guitar solo at the end is really awesome. The next song is actually the first song I heard by them. It's called Hourglass. It also just has some really beautiful vocals, and I like the melody in the chorus. It's amazing the ability of this singer to scream melodically and like hit some really high notes too. That's something that comes up in a lot of the songs. It's just the unique way of like screaming those notes and stuff. Yeah, and then the song Irreversible is really good. It's got some really incredible like syncopated guitar work, especially like in the sort of after the first chorus, and like there's a lot of I think it's called harmonics, where it's like, the sort of ringing sound of the guitar, like almost like feedback sounding ish. They use that a lot in the verse section of this song, and I love the sort of syncopation, how it's like not right on beat, it's like on alternating beats and stuff. Yeah, it just sounds really heavy and really cool. So I get into the guitar in that track. The next couple albums, Neon and their self-titled ERRA album, the lineup is pretty much the same, except they added Connor Hess on bass, and yeah, I like the song Breach. It's got some really pretty vocals in the chorus, and it also has like a syncopated guitar riff after the chorus. I like the song Signal Fire, which also has a really pretty chorus. There's some cool background harmony in the second verse section. Nice pre-chorus section before the second chorus. It also comes back after the second chorus. And then this song also has a really pretty guitar solo. And then the song Ghost of Nothing. This one has a pretty nice chorus, but the coolest part is the breakdown section. Yeah, the guitar in this section is just really, really interesting, and I like the screaming vocals in that part. Those all were from the album Neon. And then from the album ERRA, I like the song Scorpion Hymn. This one is really heavy, and I think it has somewhat of a nu metal sound to the guitar riff. And yeah, just the rest of the song in general is pretty heavy sounding. The song Soul Absentia, the melody in this one is really interesting, and it almost seems like it changes keys somewhat. Because just the melody, it sounds like it's in one key, and then I think just like one note in particular, when he hits that note, it's like, oh, that note didn't sound like it was part of the same key, but it sounds really cool when he does it. And then there's also this really unexpected breakdown towards the end that just kind of comes out of nowhere and sounds really cool. I like this song Light My Way, which is actually a cover of a song by Audioslave. It sounds really good. It sounds like Audioslave. It's funny because I didn't know it was a cover, but when I first heard the song, I was like, this just sounds like Audioslave. And then I looked it up and I realized, oh, it actually is a cover of a song by Audioslave. Just one more song that I want to share by them from their album Cure, which came out this year. Same lineup, except Sean Price, the previous guitarist, left the band, and he was replaced by Clint Tustin on guitar. But yeah, I like the song Blue Reverie. It's a pretty chill sounding song. Like, it's mostly clean vocals, and it just has a pretty chill sound. There is a cool heavy part with some interesting, I don't know if it's guitar or bass, but it's got a cool sound, and some distorted harmonics, or whatever you call those notes that sound kind of like feedback. Alright, the next artist is called Silent Planet. This is actually, I think, a Christian band. I think they got their name from a C.S. Lewis poem, I think. Their lyrics are very, like, environmentalist. I don't know. I just noticed that in a lot of their songs. They're very sort of environmentalist lyrics. But yeah, I do really like the song Inherit the Earth. The intro is kind of like a poetry sound.
Upon this grave then fall. Thy fallen
It's a really heavy, like, intense song. And there's like this mellow, like, ethereal synth in the verses. I think they use sort of that sort of like atmospheric synth in a lot of their songs. Yeah, it just gives it a really interesting sound with like that synth in the background. And you also hear like these drumstick taps that kind of echo in the background.
So I took shelter in the woods with the naked shaking trees. Deciduous fraternal twins.
The bass playing during the verses is really awesome.
I'm nothing to show but a racing book that once contained my literary charades. Now blots of ink are guitar.
And then, yeah, in the chorus, the guitar comes back in, and he's, you know, screams and belts out the lyrics. I really like the way he yells the part, "Oh, how far we fall."
Just,
I don't know, it sounds really cool. And then like later in the song, there's this quiet part where kind of all the instruments sort of fade out, and you just hear like the synth, the sort of ambient synth, and this part in the background that sounds kind of like distant thunder rumbling.
Mortal strife and the constantly dying light.
And you have the vocalist kind of screaming, and screams like, "How can I keep myself together when everything falls apart?" And then the chorus comes back in. There's like a part at the very end that I just noticed when I looked up the lyrics. He says, "Find me here," and then you hear like this kind of background distant screaming, and according to the lyrics, he's yelling "Son of Man." So he says, you know, "Find me here," and then in the background, "Son of Man." It sounds really cool. And then also from that album, the album that's from is called "Everything Was Sound." And I just realized I forgot to tell you who's in this band. We have Garrett Russell, Mitchell Stark, Thomas Freckleton, Alex Camarina, and Spencer Keane. They're all based in California. Yeah, the other song I like is called "No Place to Breathe." And yeah, it has a cool like lead up to the chorus. Starts out just like you just hear the bass, and then the guitar comes in, like you hear kind of one guitar playing, and then all the guitars come in, and the chorus is just really heavy sounding and has this kind of cool piano melody that plays too. Yeah, so then the next album is called "When the End Began." Pretty much the same band members. Only difference is that Spencer Keane played guitar in the previous album, and in this album he just did production. But yeah, I like the song "After Dusk." It's a pretty heavy sounding song, heavy guitar, and the melody in the chorus I really like the melody of the instruments and the vocals. And then another song from that album I like is called "In Absence." It's a pretty emotional sounding song. The chorus is really emotional sounding. I like the melody of the line in particular. "I can't bear the pain of losing yesterday."
I can't bear the pain of losing yesterday to our world.
And I like how when he says "I can't bear the pain," it kind of has these like drum strikes and like guitar strikes that just accentuate the rhythm of the vocals. Yeah, and then the next album is called "Iridescent." Spencer Keane, I guess, left at this point, so it's just Garrett, Mitchell, Thomas, and Alex for this album. The song "Trilogy" is pretty cool. It's kind of got a horror sound to it a bit. It's got this arpeggiated synth intro. Later in the song, the synth returns and it kind of leads up. You hear like this kind of like whispering, raspy vocals, like repeating over and over again. "It's always red," the static in my head, and then it leads up to this this really heavy breakdown section. And I guess if you're not familiar with metal, you might not know like what a breakdown is, I guess, but a breakdown is really common in metal music, where I like how one person described it. I think this was, I can't remember the YouTube channel I watched, but there was a YouTuber who talks about music a lot, and he described metal breakdown as like, in the bulk of a metal track, the vibe that the artist is trying to convey is like is the emotion of anger, and that's how, you know, like you have like the fast drums and the fast guitars and stuff through most of the track, but when you get to the breakdown, the tempo slows down a bit and the guitars are a bit heavier, and the emotion that they're usually trying to convey is power, which I guess isn't really an emotion, but the vibe, I guess, is like power. So it's like, you know, it's kind of like the beginning of the track sort of builds up the anger and everything, and then it's kind of unleashed during the breakdown. And I think this track served as a good example of that. Yeah, and then another track I like from that album is the title track, Iridescent. It's a really long build-up at the beginning. It's got kind of what sounds a little bit like a choir in the background and like some violins. Yeah, and just builds up throughout the track and gets kind of more and more intense. And then the song kind of shifts a little bit to more of a traditional metalcore sound. But then there's this part with like this growling guitar and like these frantic screeching guitars kind of alternating back and forth. It reminds me of another YouTuber I watched talking about an element of horror music. Like in horror movies, something that you find in a lot of horror soundtracks is low-pitched sounds combined with high-pitched sounds. Because like in nature, our bodies are like trained to react to like low-pitched sounds. As you know, when you hear something that's low-pitched, your body automatically knows like that's something big and threatening and scary, like, you know, a tiger or, you know, a lion or something that has a low-pitched sound is going to be big and threatening. But then the high-pitched sounds, I guess, are they more have like the effect on the body of like kind of confusing and disorienting. So when you combine the low pitch and the high pitch, it can give you like a feeling of, you know, like horror and feeling threatened and stuff. So I feel like that element is present in this part of the song where they have the low guitar and the high-pitched guitar together. So the next album, their most recent album, came out last year, is called Super Bloom. It looks like Thomas Freckleton left the band and was replaced with Nick Pockuk. There's a lot of synth on this album, I think. The song Collider has like a really cool synth melody, and the part that I like most about this song is the really sick guitar riff before the chorus. And that guitar riff comes back at the breakdown as well in this song. And after the breakdown, the synth comes back, and it's really highlighted at that part. And then another song from that album I like is called Offworlder. Also has some cool synth. It sounds a bit more industrial to me. 7 seconds till the bastards push the door. Just remember, nothing's real. They can't hurt you anymore. And then there's this really cool moment. I feel kind of silly spotlighting this moment because it's literally like one note in the whole song. But there's this cool moment with like a synth pad note that comes in, and it just like sort of fades in and then it's gone. and it only lasts for like a second, but I don't know, I feel like sometimes those little tiny moments can just be almost like the cherry on top of a song, where it's like the song is good, but then that one quick like note just like adds something to the song that's like, whoa, that was really cool. Alright, and then we're switching to something a bit different with the next artist. This artist is called Deftones. The lead vocalist is Chino Moreno. He's pretty much stuck with the band the whole time. And then Stephen Carpenter, Abe Cunningham, they've both been with the band since the beginning. Chi Chang was originally the bassist. He actually passed away in 2013. I actually remember that because I used to listen to Korn, and they did like a collaboration kind of memorial song in honor of Chi when he died. Yeah, anyways, Deftones, they have a pretty like chill sound in some of their songs, and some of them are a bit heavier, but I like the song Minerva. It's one of their older songs from 2003. It's got some chill, like echoey guitars. It kind of, I read somebody liken it to like shoegaze, which I can kind of see. It does have a bit of a shoegazy sound. The vocals are interesting. Like you'll notice in a lot of their songs, Chino, his vocals are kind of dissonant. I watched a video on YouTube by Adam Neely talking about polytonality, and he used Deftones as an example of, you know, what polytonality sounds like. And it's basically where you have two different keys playing at the same time. And so I think that kind of characterizes Deftones' music a lot. But yeah, Minerva is a really good song. I like the song Needles and Pins. There's like a guitar loop that plays throughout, and it almost sounds a bit electronic to me, probably just because it's looping. But yeah, I like the sound of the guitar, and then the bass line when it comes in, the bass is really cool, and it accentuates the song really well. The bass was actually played by Stephen Carpenter, who normally plays guitar. And then in the chorus, you hear some like screaming vocals in the background. Those are actually vocals by Chi Chang, the bassist. And then another song I want to spotlight is from the album Saturday Night Wrist in 2006. This song is called Beware. This song it makes me think of high school. Like every time I think of it, you know how sometimes there are songs that have like really strong memories attached to them, and they're like so nostalgic. Like whenever you listen to that song, it takes you back to that sort of era. Whenever I listen to the song Beware, I'm always like taken back to high school. In sort of the pre-chorus, I guess, there's these like, almost sounds like crickets chirping. And the sort of cricket chirping sound effects actually make me think of waking up before dawn, getting ready for school. The melody in the chorus is really beautiful. The chorus definitely stands out as like the best part, I think. melody is absolutely amazing. And in the verses too, the verses have a really cool melody. The second section of verses after the first chorus, I like the way he delivers the line, "It's not like you were warned, so go on." Like when he says the words "so go on," I just like the notes that he hits in that line. The second half of the song, it has some heavier guitar riffs and stuff, and I don't get into it as much. I like the first half of the song, and usually when I listen to this song, I just listen to the first half and then kind of skip to the next song, but yeah. And then the next several albums, the lineup pretty much stayed the same. Chino Moreno on vocals, Stephen Carpenter on guitar, Abe Cunningham on drums, Frank Delgado on keyboards, and then they recruited Sergio Vega on bass. The album Diamond Eyes in 2010, I like the song Command/Control. This one's more of a heavy track. It switches back and forth between like 4/4 and 7/4 time signature. So you know me, I always like, and I think a lot of their songs, especially after this point, they did tend to like mess around with the time signatures a bit. So that's probably one of the reasons I like this band. Yeah, and then in the song Command Control, there's like a really neat synth part that comes in at one point that I like. The other song from that album that I really like is You've Seen the Butcher. Sorry, my voice cracked when I said that. It's just, this one's just like a great, rock tune. Has a nice riff to it, and there's these really cool atmospheric synth in the background that just gives it a really ethereal sound. And the vocals in the pre-chorus section blend really well with that atmospheric sound. It's like the vocals themselves are an instrument, which I guess that's typically how it is. Vocals are an instrument, but in this case, they blend so well. I like how it sounds. From the album Koi no Yokan, I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but that came out in 2012. I like the song Entombed. This one's pretty calm, kind of a ballad-like track. It has some more atmospheric synth, also a bit of a shoegazy sound, like some of their other tracks. And the chorus in this song is particularly really pretty. I'm gonna say that in a lot of the upcoming songs because they make really good, pretty beautiful sounding choruses. So you probably never thought that metal could sound beautiful, but yeah. This artist does a good job of that. The other song from that album I like is called What Happened to You. This one's interesting. It reminds me a little bit of Stuart Copeland for some reason, especially with the bass and the verses. I don't know what exactly it is about it. It just has a Stuart Copeland vibe, like a Spyro soundtrack, or his soundtracks to other works. Overall, this song has a nice, chill, shoegazy vibe. Another pretty chorus. And the ending of this song is really cool too. Just like the vocals, and it just has like a cool sounding ending. From their next album, Gore, I like the title track, Gore. This came out in 2016. Gore is a pretty heavy sounding track, a heavy guitar riff and screaming vocals in the chorus. Yeah, just one of their more heavy sounding songs that I like. And then the other song from that album I like is called Phantom Bride. This one's like, it has kind of an 80s sound to me. Like the guitar during the verses just has a very 80s sound. And the chorus on this one is quite pretty as well. And then there's this neat guitar solo that also has a kind of 80s sound to me. And one of their more recent tracks from the album Ohms in 2020. I like the song Genesis, which I think is the first song on the album. It has a really awesome like synthy intro. And then these heavy guitars bust in, and you hear the screaming vocals of Chino. When he does the clean vocals, I feel like the harmony sounds really kind of ethereal. And I love the echo on the word balance. That part always is really cool to me. The next couple songs are by Veil of Maya. I only picked a couple of their songs just because these are the only two songs I really listen to. But I like the song Outrun. It starts out with a pretty typical metalcore sound, but then it cuts to this like awesome 80s synth. Kind of has a bit of a Weeknd sound, the artist The Weeknd. And then after the first chorus, there's this really awesome, like heavy breakdown sounding kind of section. Yeah, and then another song by Veil of Maya that I like is called Mother Part 4. It starts out with a arpeggiated synth melody and some pretty sounding vocals. And then the melody actually shifts from synth to guitar. So the guitar plays like the same sort of arpeggiated melody. And then the rest of the song like switches back and forth between guitar and synth. There's a really cool part where there's like some spoken vocals in the background, and it's in the synth melody, but then there's like these sporadic guitar strikes that just like jump in every once in a while. So the next song I like that is kind of a bonus recommendation is called Halo by Pendulum. Pendulum featuring Bullet for My Valentine. Pendulum is a drum and bass artist, and I'm actually going to spotlight them in a future episode, but I'm throwing this song in this episode because of the screaming vocals and the metal sounding guitar. I just figured it sounds fairly metal compared to their other music. So yeah, this is a song that I like by Pendulum.
Are you listening now? Out for a little redemption. Brick by brick, breaking under the pressure.
And then the song Lifeline, parentheses Drowning by Under Oath, one of their newer songs. Under Oath I will also spotlight somewhere down the line, but I just like this song during the summer. It's got a really emotional melody in the chorus. Emotional sounding lyrics too. I mean, talks about feeling like he's drowning. Yeah, this song I feel like gets me kind of emotional sometimes when I listen to it. So definitely check that one out. Alright, so I kind of sped through this episode, but hopefully it'll still be enjoyable after I do some editing. And the audio quality might not be the best. I'm using my tablet again because I still haven't charged my camera. But last week I feel like the tablet recording ended up sounding not too bad, so I don't think it'll be too big of a problem. But yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying these podcasts. I don't know who listens to them, but if you enjoy these, like, post a comment or something, and if you have any recommendations, like ways that I could improve the podcast. I know I'm kind of flopping with the sermon recaps at the beginning. I'll try to get better at that. But yeah, if there's something that you guys want to hear or bring to go into more detail about or something, let me know. And stay tuned for next week's episode where I will talk about my music. I'm really excited about this episode. I'm just excited to share the music that I've created in the past and talk about some of the songs. And yeah, stay tuned for that. And until then, have a good week, and I'll talk to you next time.